They say empires rise with thunder and conquest. Yet some vanish silently, leaving only whispers in ancient ruins and faint echoes in the lands they once ruled. Some kingdoms ruled millions, controlled vast lands, and shaped the destiny of entire regions. Yet their names are now barely remembered. They were once giants, their power absolute, their influence unstoppable. Yet time has buried their glory. This is the story of the forgotten kingdom that once ruled millions. 10. The dawn of a giant. Long before modern nations drew borders, this kingdom stretched across mountains veiled in mist, rivers winding like silver threads, and plains stretching beyond the horizon. Cities rose like jewels of stone and timber, bustling with merchants, artisans, scholars, and diplomats. Markets overflowed with spices, silks, rare metals, and exotic goods from distant lands. Temples glimmered under the rising sun, and palaces reflected the wealth of generations. Roads carved into hills and forests connected provinces, allowing armies, caravans, and ideas to move seamlessly. Its power was not only in conquest, but in administration, culture, and the invisible threads that bound millions to the throne. Every sunrise brought new challenges, triumphs, and decisions that would ripple across generations. 9. Secrets behind the throne. Behind golden thrones and velvet curtains, power moved in whispers. Advisors murmured strategies, generals debated tactics, and spies returned from distant borders with intelligence no common citizen could imagine. The northern roads are restless. One advisor murmured under flickering candlelight. If the harvest fails, the provinces will revolt, warned another, adjusting the king's map. Couriers carrying coded messages raced under the cover of night, unaware their words could tip the fate of millions. Every decision, every subtle hint, every ignored warning determined the kingdom's destiny long before the people ever noticed. 8. The first cracks appear. Even the mightiest kingdoms can falter quietly. A delayed shipment of grain, a minor rebellion overlooked, or a local governor's ambition slowly chipped at the empire's foundation. In distant villages, farmers whispered fears of taxes and conscription, while merchants complained about changing trade regulations. Borders once secure grew restless, and rival kingdoms watched patiently. Ordinary citizens, going about daily routines, were the first to feel subtle shifts. A delayed harvest, rising prices, an unfamiliar tax collector at their door. The invisible foundation of the kingdom began to weaken, silently, imperceptibly, yet irreversibly. 7. Cultural power and its fragility. The kingdom's strength lay not only in soldiers and gold, but in culture. Art, literature, language, and shared customs inspired loyalty and obedience. Festivals united cities, temples instilled devotion, and scholars recorded knowledge in meticulous scripts. Yet even culture, no matter how vibrant, could not withstand internal fractures or external pressures indefinitely. Whispered doubts among citizens, rivalries between local leaders, and slow erosion of tradition began undermining cohesion. What once inspired reverence now risked becoming routine, empty, and fragile in the eyes of a restless population. 6. The role of diplomacy and deception. While ordinary people slept, foreign powers quietly influenced the kingdom's destiny. Secret treaties, covert support for rebellions, and manipulation of trade routes shifted power invisibly. Envoys carried messages that could redirect armies before generals even knew what had occurred. One misinterpreted gesture at a royal banquet, one seemingly insignificant letter, could change the trajectory of an entire empire. Diplomacy became an invisible weapon, guiding economies, policy, and alliances with precision, leaving the citizens unaware of the forces controlling their world. 5. Lives shaped by empire. Millions of lives intertwined with the kingdom's reach. Farmers toiled in fields feeding distant cities, artisans crafted goods for faraway markets, and soldiers defended borders they would never see. Generations grew up believing in the permanence of the throne, unaware that every decree, trade route, and law was influenced by decisions made in shadowed chambers. Loyalty, rebellion, and survival became threads woven into a tapestry invisible to those who lived within it. Every life subtly guided by the unseen hand of empire. 4. The invisible battles within. Not all battles were fought with swords and shields. Court conspiracies, rival factions, and political intrigue determined the kingdom's future more than any open battlefield. Assassins struck in shadows, secret alliances shifted power, and whispers toppled reputations. Governors schemed to expand influence, generals jockeyed for royal favor, and spies moved in silence, carrying intelligence that could change the course of history. Decisions made in secrecy determined whether the empire flourished or faltered, leaving ordinary citizens unaware of the invisible battles shaping their lives. 3. Decline in silence. Empires rarely collapse in a single cataclysm, they decay quietly. Mismanagement, environmental pressures, succession disputes, and economic strains slowly eroded power. Borders contracted, trade routes faltered, and morale dwindled. Citizens sensed change in subtle ways: delayed harvests, unpredictable taxes, unfamiliar rulers. Generations raised in prosperity were caught unaware as the kingdom's stability faded. By the time the first rebellion erupted, the decline had already taken root. Invisible but unstoppable, a force history would record long after the empire itself had vanished. 2. Echoes that remain. Though the kingdom disappeared, traces linger. Ruins whisper stories of greatness. Inscriptions on crumbling walls and faded manuscripts preserve the memory of rulers, battles, and triumphs. Neighboring nations inherited laws, art, and language, subtly shaped by the vanished empire. Legends passed down through generations preserve fragments of history. Heroes, warriors, and scholars whose deeds once commanded millions now live in myth. Archaeologists and historians piece together the past, discovering lessons about leadership, resilience, and the fragility of human ambition. Even forgotten, the kingdom's influence shaped future civilizations in ways few could recognize. 1. The lesson of the forgotten kingdom. The story of the forgotten kingdom teaches that power is fragile and greatness fleeting. The mightiest empires can vanish quietly, leaving only faint traces. Leadership, culture, diplomacy, and vigilance are crucial, yet even the wisest rulers cannot defy time or fate. Generations rise and fall, cities crumble, and the world continues, often forgetting those who once ruled millions. Yet their story endures, a testament to ambition, governance, and invisible forces shaping civilizations. History is written not only in victories and defeats, but in choices, whispers, and moments unseen by the world. Even today, in silent ruins, in echoes of language and art, and in lessons passed through generations, the kingdom's influence endures. Empires rise and fall, but the story of the forgotten kingdom reminds us that history is shaped as much by invisible currents and subtle decisions as by armies and kings. Power is impermanent, yet its echoes can last for centuries, whispering secrets to those willing to listen.